Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to welcome you in the side event on research and networking, EU research and networking in support of the Sendai Framework for Action. I'm Philippe Quevovillier, and I'm working at DG Home, and we are organizing this side event along with DG Eco. So we'll have a representative at Felix Bloch here and Alessandra Zampieri from GRC. So it's really a truly institutional event that we are proposing you today, which will provide a snapshot of what is going on in support of the Sendai Framework for Action with examples of selected EU research projects. So next slide, please. You can display my slides, Shane. So I would like to start with the very quick snapshot of the agenda. I will be providing some insight into Horizon Europe research and related to civil security for society. My colleague Felix Bloch will provide you some insight into the Union Civil Protection Knowledge Network. Alessandra Zampieri will speak about the Disaster Risk Management Knowledge Center from the Joint Research Center. And then, as I said, we will have a series of presentations on societal resilience by Yvonne Herrera, technologies for first responders by Georgios Boustras, disaster risk management covering issues on climate extreme events by Daniel Sempere Torres, and on pandemics by Moira Connolly, and a CBRN Insight by Clive Goodchild, and a standardization by Patricia Compar. And then we will open the floor for a Q&A. I will leave them to make themselves a very short introduction of what are their function and who they are, because otherwise it would be taking too long. And I would like to pass the next slide, please, Shane. I will just like to give you a very quick overview of the cluster, what we call cluster 3, that is in Horizon Europe. We have a number of 6 different clusters that are covering different areas of research. And the cluster 3 is dealing with civil security for society. And this program is covering different, what we call destinations, that is, well, thematic areas on fighting crime and terrorism, border management, resilient infrastructure, and one core area which is about disaster resilient society. We'll have also horizontal research area, which are covering, for example, market studies or networking and so on, where we are looking at capability-based approach and user-oriented social dimension and synergies and market creation. So this overall research program is funding a number of projects in the disaster risk reduction, many of which are in support of the Sendai Framework orientation and objectives. Next slide, please. In this respect, we have set since 2014, and it's fully complementary to what you will hear now from Felix and Alessandra. We have set what we call a community of European research and innovation for security, which is the acronym is SERIS, to gather actors from upstream, that is research, to downstream, key actors in industry, policy practitioners, and the societal dimension, dealing with actually to try to help synergy building regarding different projects, research projects, but also capacity building projects in different thematic areas, networking also related to policymakers, practitioners, helping to link the research with the policy side. And obviously in the civil protection area and disaster risk reduction, we are very closely working with UN DRR and DG Eco, and obviously within the framework of what is doing the Joint Research Center. So it's why this side event is showing very clearly this kind of federation of factors that we are trying to stimulate, including the market dimension. So the series is about this, and it's supporting the implementation of the Horizon Europe Cluster 3 Secure Society Program, while contributing very closely to different policies, and we are hence working very closely with DG Eco. And this gives me the transition to the next slide, and also to pass the floor to Felix Bloch about the Union Civil Protection Knowledge Network. Please, Felix, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Philippe. DRR research is higher on the agenda than ever. And that's good, I think, for us. We can thank the coronavirus, climate change, the heat and the rain for that if we want to. And Horizon Europe reflects that, but also the imminent launch of the Union Civil Protection Knowledge Network on 7th of December. What is this Union Civil Protection Knowledge Network? It's a new kid on the block, if you will. A new component of EU legislation that aims at better linking up very many work streams, including on science, but also on civil protection exercises and training and lessons learned, many of the activities that we already know well taking place in the framework of the Union Civil Protection mechanism. And on this slide, we see how we envisage the role of that knowledge network. We want to see it as a knowledge broker, also as a partnership facilitator to bring various stakeholders together, and innovation catalyst. The motto that we have chosen for the knowledge network is connect, share, and grow. So these are really, this is in a nutshell, you know, what the knowledge network is all about. We connect actors, we encourage them to share best practices, knowledge, and thereby everybody grows and our knowledge grows. So this knowledge network will be built in order to be at the disposal of the Union Civil Protection mechanism, and it will also have an IT platform that will also be launched on the 7th of December. It's not quite ready yet. You will just see the first on the 7th of December, just the first bits of it, but it will slowly be developed into a fully fledged IT platform. But I think there's always a but, and DRM research being high on the agenda, those many projects risk adding to the fog of who does what. And it's not difficult to lose the overview of the numerous parallel activities from countless organizations and project teams. And in fact, I would say it's currently almost impossible to have the complete overview. So this is also where the knowledge network will try to help to gradually develop a roadmap for navigation, to bring activities, series that Philippe has mentioned on the horizon, but also other activities together and make them accessible also to practitioners. And I'm rather optimistic that we can actually make some progress in that regard, because as you can see here today, you have 3 colleagues from the 3 most relevant commission departments together in one event. And Philippe called it federation, and I like that idea. And this means our commitment here is very clear. Not only more research on DRR, but also more linked up research. And I believe that is key. And the Union Civil Protection Knowledge Network can make an important contribution in that respect. Thanks so much. Over to you, Alessandra.
Thank you very much, Felix, and thank you very much, Philippe, of course. Well, you concluded your speech, and we can move to the next slide already, really explaining what a knowledge center is and what our role in this knowledge network can be. In fact, a knowledge center is a virtual place. Okay, we have colleagues here in ISPRA at the Joint Research Center in Italy physically working on it, but it's a much wider idea and entity based on collaboration and based on making sure that knowledge is shared and put together and made available. So this is exactly what you said, Felix. We have a lot of research, we have a lot of actors doing research, but it is often difficult to make this available to policymakers and practitioners in a way and in the moment when they need it. This is the essence of a knowledge center, to filter, qualify, and make sense of the huge amount of knowledge, data, and research results available out there. This is how our knowledge center on disaster risk management started to operate 5 years ago. Collaboration inside the commission of 12 DGs, Directorate General, you see them here on the left, but also a lot of collaboration with external partners, NGOs, UN agencies, certainly UNDRR, one of our main stakeholders and friends and collaborators working all together. And really, the main things that the Knowledge Center has to do is to map the needs of the field, of the policy, highlight research possibilities, lines of research, and then make the results of this research available where needed and what needed. This is what we have been doing for 5 years, and this is also what we want to continue to do in the framework of the science pillar of the knowledge network. Indeed, you said very clearly, this knowledge network will have this science pillar there, and the knowledge center is requested to help to become the nucleus of this science pillar, and we are really ready and excited to do it. So we will bring the experience that we have gained in 5 years of working along these lines at a higher level of ambition, and also replying to bigger challenges in front of us, the challenges of the climate change, they have already been mentioned, no? And the challenges of an interconnected society, the challenge of more complex geopolitics around Europe. So there are really growing challenges we have to reply to. And the idea is always the same, is always the idea to simplify, to provide high-level quality results of research, of science, but with tools which can be used in an easy manner, immediately available, being able to reply to the request. We had our annual seminar last week, and our annual seminar highlighted again the needs, the work done, but also there was this clear request by all speakers and by all interventions, mainly from the interventions of those who were following our annual seminars. The main thing which is still needed is to learn how to use what we know already. And this is really the purpose of the 3 DGs, as you said, Felix, with DGO, but also with DG RTD, with those carrying out the research. All together, this is what we need to do with the project financed by the Horizon budget. This is our purpose under this science pillar. Quality research, quality results, but also new and innovative ways to inject these results into policymakers and for practitioners, because the challenges are bigger, and therefore we need better answers to these challenges. We start on the 7th of December together with you. We are looking forward to launch the science pillar and the knowledge network, but it's just the start of a very ambitious route avenue that we want to walk together with all the other actors in this community. And we are really excited to open even more the Knowledge Center for this purpose. Back to you, Philippe, I think.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alessandra. Thank you very much, Felix. I think it gives a very good overview indeed of all the efforts that are being done for networking, having a closer links with policy and different actors. So thank you very much. It's very promising, and I think that 2022, out from this bloody crisis, will be very active and developing. I think. Thank you very much. I would like now to pass to the first research item that we will be looking at today, which is on societal resilience. Passing the floor to Yvonne Herrera. So Yvonne, the floor is yours.
I want to share with you how European projects are contributing to the Sendai Framework, targeting the improvement of society resilience by progressing towards a whole society approach. Why this matter? The changing nature of the crisis we all experience have shown that all stakeholders, from citizens to policymakers, are part of the solution. It is not longer sufficient that authorities prepare and respond to crises. In the past, projects within security research were not characterized by being inclusive or participatory. Now, all disaster resilient society projects that address natural or human-made disaster encourage a whole societal approach to enhance resilience. Here are some examples of progress. We have advances in knowledge, understanding of resilience that is not a property of the system, but something that emerged by the interaction with citizens, systems, societies, and organizations. The view of protection and prevention is complemented with increased flexibility and adaptation. Current projects enable the discovery of important conditions that improve resilience, like trust between citizens and authorities, the importance of the different contexts, and so on. Concerning the methods, tools, and strategies proposed, an user-centered, inclusive approach involving an ecosystem of actors co-creating solutions together. Some particular trends that are now lately in the projects is the focus on local communities or focus on vulnerable groups. There exists already methods and capability cards and ways to perform analysis of existing resilience and guide actions. There are also work that is ongoing linking the informal work done by citizens with formal work done by authorities to gather experiences and knowledge. And there is also work to consider social media and new technologies with the inputs from citizens and solutions that citizens can allow to be integrated to manage crisis. In terms of implemented the solutions, the projects propose training activities and courses. In these courses, there is a participation in training exercises by an ecosystem of actors. Next slide, please. So concerning identify gaps and synergies, as noticed in previous talk, is a need to use the existing solutions and improve the uptake and link to the ongoing efforts. And here I have a link of the projects that have ended and the ongoing projects in disaster resilience. So we need to continue this closer dialogue with the end users and the different stakeholders to improve the uptake of solutions. And further actions that will continue to enhance resilience is to continue to discover the enhancing the resilience that is inherent in the society, to take advantages of the technologies, but not the technologies in isolation, but the technologies considering the human dimension and the different contexts and the interaction of a network of actions. Especially take care of the projects is without this digital literacy to include all the different citizens. And finally, as I started my talk, we all need to work together, all the activities together, include all the actors to tackle this fragmentation, to continue to work towards a whole society approach. Thank you. Now to the next speaker.
Thank you very much, Yvonne, for this very interesting insight into societal resilience. We'll certainly come back with a possible question at the end of the session, and maybe highlighting some of the gaps that you have presented to us. Thank you very much. I would like to move now to the next speaker, Georgios, who will speak about the issues on technologies for first responders. So, Georgios, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Philip. Can we have the next slide, please? Well, before I start, I would like to express my gratitude for the invitation today, and I would like to thank very much the organizers. I think it is a perfect opportunity to illustrate, to showcase what we do in an EU level. Next slide, please. Okay, so I think this discussion couldn't have been more timely, because summer 2021 was a landmark year for in many ways for disaster management. Mega fires in France, in Greece, Turkey, Cyprus, Israel, and so many other places. an unprecedented global mobilization of first responders from 23 countries in the theater of operations in Greece, a number of lessons learned, a number of actions stemming out of this European Union, national and regional collaborations. Unfortunately, we're expecting with the ongoing climate crisis, new prolonged fire seasons, unprecedented climatic conditions, long dry summers, and all this paints a very green picture. And I hope I'm wrong. The need for new technologies, the need for optimization of human and non-human resources is apparent. Today, I'm proud to be here to represent as the coordinator of an EU-funded action that is trying to address the issues that I have just mentioned. Next slide, please. It hasn't come up yet. Okay, so what are we planning to do? With this new action, which is called Responde, this new funded action, which started almost 15 months ago, we are trying to capitalize on new, brand new next generation technologies like 5G in order to provide to first responders an optimal environment. How are we going to achieve this? We are trying to develop a new generation of sensors that are going to be, of course, lightweight, discreet, and easy to carry, of course. And these sensors are going to be health sensors, environmental sensors, and emergency activated sensors. Why are we trying to do this? We're trying to do this because we both want to know what is happening at any given moment with our first responders, so that they are not in danger physically and environmentally as well. And in addition to that, with an overlooking, an overarching technology that is developed, we will have a very good idea, and we will try to optimize their use. Next slide, please. Understandably, due to the global pandemic, last year was a very difficult one, but we have tried to go out of our way, and I'm very proud to say that I'm extremely lucky to coordinate a very capable consortium of people that have been going out of their way. So as you can understand, and I think this is a common reason for the majority of the EU-funded actions of the last couple of years, there were limitations due to the limitation of active involvement due to the global pandemic, COVID-19. Although individual technologies are developed as we speak, there are sometimes problems in terms of integrating the various technologies. I think I think this is very obvious. Otherwise, we would have been in Matosinhos today. This obviously has had an impact on our training programs, because this program is Responde is based not only on the technological part, but also on the training part, as well as the pilot studies. Despite these difficulties, we have been lucky enough to optimize. I think I used a lot of optimization today, but to optimize the breaks in between the various waves of the global pandemic. So we had a very, very good training number 1 in Barcelona and a training number 2 in Limassol here in the Republic of Cyprus. We are already intensifying the planning for the next trials. And I think we're introducing a new element here. We are lucky as a laboratory to coordinate a few, 3 actually, DG Eco large-scale exercises. So what we are trying to do, and we hope that we will be able to achieve it, nowadays you will never know, that we will have the opportunity to showcase and test these new technologies for first responders at a very realistic theater of operations, within this DG ECHO large-scale exercises that will be taking place in the Western Balkans. This has already started in Caucasus and the Middle East. Next slide, please. Without further ado, I would like to pass the floor to the next speaker, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Georgios. Yeah, you're making nicely my job. So thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you, Philip,
and indeed,
thank you. I don't aspire of taking over your job, but yes, thank you.
No, thank you very much. Yeah, this is a good transition to the first, I would say, presentation on disaster risk management, which is focused on pandemics. So I would like Moira to give us an insight into pandemics. Please, Moira, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Philippe. Thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to be here this morning. All right, so the Pandem2 project is a security project on pandemic preparedness and response. It started in February 2021, so we are 10 months into the project. We are developing IT solutions to strengthen EU-wide pandemic preparedness and response. The goal of the project is to enable EU member states to better prepare for future pandemics and improve response through innovations in information technology, training, and cross-border collaboration. It's a 2-year project, and the outputs of the project are based on the Pandem Phase 1 project, which was concluded in 2017. And I think at this point, I'd like to acknowledge the foresight of DG Home in putting this as a topic in 2014, when I think there was somewhat complacency about the risk posed by pandemics. I worked in WHO in Geneva for 15 years, and we were accused of being shroud wavers, talking about pandemics and the threat that they posed. But I think we've all seen how we certainly have a greater respect and acknowledgement of the risk the biological world poses to human populations. So this project, we have 19 partners across 13 EU countries, and on our advisory board, we have the European Centre for Disease Control, which has played a fundamental role in the response to COVID-19, WHO headquarters in Geneva, the American Red Cross, and the Defence Forces Ireland, who've been a major part of the response in this country in terms of contact tracing, vaccine rollout, and testing. So you can see across Europe with a very broad representation of countries from Western, Southern, and Eastern Europe, and it's a great opportunity to document and capture the experiences of COVID-19. And our target end users are essentially EU citizens. The goal of this is to protect EU citizens from future pandemics by better information management. Obviously, there's a key role for hospital providers and data for hospital providers in terms of planning healthcare service delivery during a pandemic. First responders have a crucial role for a range of activities, including quarantine measures, including transport of patients, including transport of samples. And then our core end user are really public health agencies and government ministries who are tasked with the role of managing a pandemic. Next slide, please. So the summary of the outputs. So the first and core output of the Pandem2 project is a pandemic database and dashboard, which is going to integrate national surveillance data, laboratory data, including what we call next generation sequencing for new variants, mortality data, which comes from hospitals, but also from central statistics units in member states, data from ECDC's TESI system, which is their standardized national surveillance reporting system for all member states, contact tracing data, social media, and vaccine uptake data. The emphasis here is to learn from other security and crisis management sectors on situational awareness, particularly the defense sector, using cutting-edge visual analytics to support decision-making, using real-time data to manage a pandemic. The second core output is the development of novel modeling and simulation tools, which will include a library of disease transmission prediction models, which will look at a specific model in the future with a certain attack rate and a certain case fatality rate. And with that, we'll be looking at a simulation tool for resource planning. So how well prepared is your healthcare service based on your current ICU bed capacity, your current access to PPE, your current access to vaccines? How can you respond to a pandemic, a potential pandemic in the future? And these tools will be used to assess surge capacity and also health workforce capacity. And I think one core part of the project is to develop benchmarks for the number of public health doctors, the number of laboratory technicians, the number of healthcare workers who are capable of managing ventilators, that there will be benchmarks across Europe of what staffing levels are needed, also for areas like communications and modeling. So the third core area is to develop state-of-the-art resources for pandemic communication. And my colleagues earlier spoke about the importance of societal resilience and trust. We've seen this as a really key message from this pandemic. Trust is crucial. Unless you have community behind you, citizens behind you, and they have trust in the information you're putting out there, you will not get a response. You will not get the appropriate public health measures implemented. And we're also looking clearly at the COVID use case, but also crisis management and civil aviation sectors. The fourth area is that we're developing a pandemic preparedness training platform, and the proposal is that this will be used for annual simulations or tabletop exercises by EU member states, using the Pandem2 database and dashboard based on 3 scenarios. And we're looking at novel influenza, which is still the most likely cause of the next pandemic due to an avian strain, for example, Ebola, which was more a communications challenge with not that many cases occurring in EU member states, and disease X or a novel strain of coronavirus, for example, in the future with perhaps a higher mortality rate. And then the final key output is the ultimate aim here is to build stronger collaborative links for cross-border response. We've seen the benefit of an all-Europe approach to procurement of vaccines. We need to see how we can improve cross-border collaboration in terms of availability of ventilators or PPE or staffing or ambulance services, for example. And what our plan is that through this preparedness platform and through annual simulations, which are done routinely by the military in many countries, that they will build a closer collaboration between national public health agencies, first responders, hospitals and laboratories at national and EU level by use of this common shared preparedness platform. And here on the right is just an example of one of the screenshots from the IT tool that's under development, looking at bed occupancy. And one of our scenarios that we will be running within the Robert Koch Institute or demonstration will look at a pandemic originating on the Belgian-German border. And we're looking at the healthcare demands from that. Okay, next slide, please. That's it. So thank you very much. Thanks for your attention. And thanks, Philippe, for the opportunity to present Pandem.
Thank you very much, Moira. Well, we will now pass the floor to Daniel. Actually, it's not. Yeah, exactly. I would like to pass the floor to Daniel Sampere Torres, who will be giving us an insight into the climate change, extreme events, risk management. Daniel, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that the slides are seen. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you to all for this nice opportunity. I will share a few words about climate risk management. And the first is to remember what we have learned in the last years. Let me say that it is that for this disaster risk management, one of the pieces that is crucial is the early warning systems. But the early warning systems are only as good as the action they catalyze. So we need to link what we have in the side of the technology for the early warning systems to this capacity to trigger actions. So the idea is that instead of doing just meteorological forecasts, we need to translate this into a language that it is related to the effects of this weather and talk about impact forecasts, but then add a layer of connections to actionable decisions and operational services that can help to trigger these actionable solutions at local level from even the most advanced multi-risk impact-based early warning system. And the key challenge is this connection with the actionable decisions. If we see how the early warning systems in climate, essentially in climate emergencies, have evolved in the time, we have passed from the general weather forecast initially to weather warnings based on arbitrary fixed thresholds. And the first big revolution was to move to these weather warnings, but using agreed thresholds with the users, and then moving to multi-thresholds, multi-dimensional thresholds. And in this century, we started with the warnings using ensemble forecasting. It was opening the door to the probabilistic warnings, and then moving to impact-based multi-hazard early warning systems that are essentially where we are, and moving for the next generation of multi-risk impact-based early warnings. And all this is in parallel with the initiatives like Sendai or the new European Union strategy on adaptation to climate change that are requesting to do this, making this massively adopted. Because the important is not just to have these technologies of these systems, but to use these systems in a majority of regions or countries over the world. And this is the next step. To understand what we are proposing, essentially, what we need is not just to translate the meteorological forecast to impacts and effects, but to be able to precise when, where, and what. And of course, the images here are essentially for floods, because floods is one of the main climate risks we are facing as societies, but also the most advanced in the sense of going to the impacts and talking about risk. But we need to do this in a multi-risk base. We need to cover all the climate impacts on all the climate risks and emergencies. And this is much more difficult in some cases. So we need to work. Yeah? If we do a little bit of survey of what is happening around the world out of Europe, what we see is that there are some countries that have advanced in these lines. And for instance, in Australia, they have a distinction between watch and warning. And when they are close to the impacts, to the event 6 hours before, they are even able to communicate specific locations, moving from regions to specific locations and using words that are related to this translation to the impacts. In the States, they are using enhanced warnings with impacting messages and photos, and they are essentially using widely the capacities of the smartphones of the population to transmit these warnings, and using the cell broadcast technology for doing that. In the case of the most advanced approaches, I think that presently they are in China, because of different things, but essentially I think it's the only country now in the world that it is talking about risk-based warning, not just on impact-based warnings, but they are including the layers to produce warnings based on risk, and even incorporating the citizens as sensors, and this participation of the citizens in improving the situational awareness. Probably they are the most advanced now at the moment. And in the international arena, we have different initiatives that are essentially looking in the less developed countries and trying to promote these early warning systems in these countries. And about these initiatives, we have this initiative about the International Network for Multi-Hazard Early Warning Systems and the Cruise for Africa. If we move to Europe, back to Europe, what we have, the most advanced we have is, let me say, at the scale of the European Union, probably is Meteoalarm. And these are the warnings for today from Meteoalarm. You will see that there is a number of countries in Europe today warned about the second level in orange. But what we are still doing is essentially doing warnings at regional scale and based on what the weather will be instead of what the weather will do. So we need to make a next step. And as we have seen this summer, we are, as Europeans, we are not on the advance, the most
Daniel,
advanced.
Daniel, you need to conclude, please, because we will be lagging behind.
This is my last point. We have the technology, but we need to change the governance and engage the citizens. This is my final message. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Daniel, for this very comprehensive presentation. I would like to move there. Sorry, because we have a very short duration for this side event. I would like to bring back to CBRN aspects, in fact, for technology for first responders related to CBRN. And I would like, Shane, that you go back to the slide to be presented by Clive. So it's the slide before. Just one step up, please. Yes, exactly. Thank you. So Clive, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Philip. Good morning. Thank you for the invitation to speak. Encircle was the CBRN cluster whose objective was to improve EU resilience to CBRN threats and improve EU industrial competitiveness. The project is just completed and the Encircle catalogue and the resources will be maintained for at least another 2 further years. The catalogue contains over 300 innovations mapped to practitioner needs and gaps. The Encircle resources are also publicly available, such as CBRN market analysis, integrations, standards, human factors, and a needs and gaps database. And there's over 300 CBRN projects listed on the Encircle website, which also includes the 8 SME-led innovation projects that resulted from the H2020 DRS 04 calls. Next slide, please. This slide illustrates what I call a path to the future slide for the 8 projects and highlights the needs they are meeting, the improvements they will bring in the future, the technology enablers, and the plan to meet the future capability improvements. The first innovation call resulted in the COSMIC EU Sense and Terrific projects. COSMIC provides innovations to meet the need for faster scanning of large number of containers and ports, the CBRN hazards resulting in improved custom operation and efficiency. EU Sense will provide innovations to meet the need for improved standoff detection of threats, dispersion modeling, and that will provide improved situational awareness of chemical hazards. Terrific provides improved standoff detection for radiological threats and will provide improved first responder response, detection, and situational awareness. All 3 of these projects have recently successfully completed their physical demonstrations. The second and third calls resulted in a further 4 projects, EU Radian, which concerns improved standoff detection of CBRN threats, and that is expected to provide improved radiological threat detection and safety and efficiency of emergency operators. Servicing project concerns the need for more generic multi-purpose detectors that can detect a mixture of chemicals and provides faster answers to responders, and will provide faster detection, identification of chemical hazards at low concentrations. Follow ZPAN, that concerns the need for development for systems for faster detection and identification of biological hazards, and that will provide improved bioaerosol sensing and measurement. And finally, the NEST project, which addresses the need for multi-purpose CBRN threat detection detectors embedded in buildings, and that will provide improved critical infrastructure protection, operator situational awareness, and threat risk assessment. For further details on all these projects and the Encircle catalog and the resources, please check the Encircle project's website and the individual project sites. Thank you for your attention, and back to you, Phil.
Thank you very much, Clive. Thank you very much for this presentation, which sounds very complex, but in fact it's very straightforward. That what the Encircle project is doing with CBRN project. So thank you very much for guiding us to your work. And I would like to terminate this session with another angle of view related to research. It's not specifically research, but there is research in support to standardization. And I would like to invite Patricia Compart to guide us into this complex world as well. So Patricia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Philippe. Well, can I have next slide, please? Thank you. How does standardization support the Sendai Framework for disaster risk reduction. Well, I hope you know what standards are. So I'll go directly to next slide because we only have 5 minutes. So I have to speak about the standardization framework because it is not known. At the time the standard framework was established, is at the same time the standardization framework for the standard framework was established, and it's within ISO TC 292. There is a specific pre-standardization group, which is the UN coordination group, which is co-chaired by the UN Economic Commission for Europe and the UN Human Settlement Program, UN Habitat. So these people prepare the ground for the standardization for the framework of Sendai. And there are excellent standards that are developed by the working group. Mostly by Working Group 5, Community Resilience, but also Working Group 3, Emergency Management, Working Group 9, Crisis Management, of course, Working Group 1, Terminology, and the brand new Working Group 10, Preparedness. So as you understand, Restart Global and the standard framework is global, so it makes sense to have a global framework. But of course, what we do in Europe can a lot enforce the standard framework. We can do much more because we are using the results of research, and most of it is funded by the EU. So in Europe, standardization is developed, complementary and specific standardization is developed within the framework of the international standardization. Most of it is in CENTC 391, Social and Citizen Security, which I share. It's a mirror committee of ISO TC 292. So we have 3 working groups: healthcare, CBRNE, and crisis management. What we do in this TC is to build on preparedness and response needs. We serve the purposes of policymakers and practitioners to support their preparedness and response. And of course, we use the results of EU research projects. We don't take them all, of course. And also we standardize what is in relation with the use of technology and the citizens' requirements, which are essential. What we use as a tool to develop this pre-standardization is the Stairforce security ecosystem and platform that has been developed through the Stairforce Security Project. The project is over, but there'll be a following up and a development of this pre-standardization enabling platform. The aim here is it's pretty much kind of wrapping up all of you guys have been saying through this meeting. We want to build the bigger picture for the practitioners and the policymakers, whether they are from member states or the EU institutions, because of course these also a policymaker regarding these issues. Users can find anything they need for their business. It is business and end users oriented. And users needs oriented, so they can find any relevant information regarding research, regarding available solutions. They can network to establish the state of the art, to really develop documents that are going to be standard like documents, and find out whether they should establish standards or enhance coordination, pick up a solution, or whatever is requested. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yes, I won't be very long because you can all read the standard and the slides when you'll get them. But see, I have just taken the 4 priorities of the standard networks. Now I'm just showing you few, because there are so many others, of the already established standards that are supporting preparedness and response. Some of them are just ISO, some of them are just European. Lots of them are EN ISO standards because it really makes sense. We're working in close coordination. And you see, look at all the things that are already there and think of all the things we can do by developing standards, especially in Europe, by developing standards to improve coordination and to improve the take-up of very, very useful and accurate research and available change maker solutions that are already there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Patricia. And thank you to all for this very interesting, I would say, journey into networking and research. And we will not have actually to deal with questions because the time is very short. So what I would like that we offer to our public, to our audience, is to express in a way our dreams for the future, you know, a kind of takeaway message. And we are 8, we still have 8 minutes, so we will have 1 minute takeaway message to pass to each. So I will maybe start with saying that I'm amazed by the networking strengths that we can develop among policymakers, scientists, practitioners, industry, and civil society. And what is for me very interesting is that we are working in a kind of silos, and we cannot break silos. I was actually very naive thinking that we could break walls between disciplines, between actors, and so on. It's not the case. Our society is based on this kind of artificial maybe walls. So, but we need to create very strong bridges among our different fields to bring our disciplines and activities all together, establishing dialogues. And for me, my dream is that human dimension is being back to our discussion. It's already starting, but this central human dimension is for me very important. And we see that with the pandemics, we desperately need to see each other and to bring back humans into the picture. So I would like to pass the floor to Felix for his takeaway. Please, Felix.
Thank you. I'm amazed by this journey that we just went through in very little time, and each of the projects could have spent so much more time on, obviously, and it's really exciting to see how many things are going on at the same time, and there are obviously so many more that we couldn't refer to right now in other arenas. And as Philippe said, I couldn't agree more. I think the bridge building is essential between those activities, and there's need for not only one bridge but many bridges. And I'm therefore also confident that the UCP knowledge network, the Union Civil Protection knowledge network, can make a contribution there. Build one bridge which is will be particularly relevant for civil protection, first responders, practitioners. So I'm looking forward.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Felix. Yes, indeed, it's very, very promising and very, very challenging. So thank you very much. And I know that GRC will be contributing very strongly on that. So Alexandra, please, I give you the floor. Thank you very much, Felix.
Thank you. I am also impressed by the presentations today. I know we have a very vibrant research community around us, but every time I see it presenting, I'm really impressed. My dream is very clear in my mind. I have a dream of a science pillar, of a knowledge center, of a community, of a place where the tools that we develop allow us to push a button and we extract exactly what is needed for that issue that policymakers need to tackle. I said this in the beginning, and now I add a bit to this because this is not enough. I dream research driving and setting the policy agenda. I need research being able to be more anticipatory for the future. Challenges are clear to everybody. We all see it. We must be able to say this is what is needed in 5 years, and research starts today to give you the answer and the tools that you need in 5 years. It's a dream that I think we can implement. So I leave it here to you to start it. And we are here to help, of course. Back to you, Philippe.
Thank you. Thank you, Alessandra. It's a wonderful dream, and I think we are all, I would say, driving into this direction. Thank you very much. I would like now to pass the floor to Yvonne for the societal resilience dream.
Thank you, Philippe. The dream I would like to share today is that there exists already a lot of solutions, and my dream will be to have a uptake of the solutions that we all together experience, that some of the solutions that are there are uptaked, and continue with this more participatory approach, discovering the knowledge and experience from the citizens. So I think have this uptake and have a celebration when we have done that and experienced that would be very nice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Now I would like to pass the floor to Georgios for technologies related dream.
Thank you very much, Philippe. I'm not Reverend Martin Luther King, but I still have a dream, like we all have. And I think my dream has been described very, very nicely by everyone today. You said that yourself, that the human should be in the center of all that. We have many technologies, but we need, and we have started, we don't only need, we have started to make sure that all these technologies are becoming more and more anthropocentric. I was also amazed by listening part of my big dream, two dimensions of my dream. First of all, of collaboration, especially in our part of the world here in Southeast Med, which is a difficult part of the world. And I was also very happy to hear from Yvonne earlier on that we are directing our research towards a more society-based approach. I'm very confident for the future, very happy. Unfortunately, difficult times ahead, but I'm still confident. And thank you very much for today.
Thank you, Georgios. Could I pass the floor then to Moira, please, Moira?
Thank you, Philippe. So in terms of my dream, I think what we've seen is unprecedented advances in information technology in this pandemic in the area of diagnostics, in terms of delivering real-time data, vaccine development, drug development, and also clinical management. What I'd like to see is that this investment in public health and laboratory infrastructure is sustained, that we learn from the crisis management sector. We need to have our fire stations like, crisis management 60, 70 years ago didn't have a fire station in every town. Now we need very strong public health departments backed up by laboratories. We need to learn from crisis management and sustain the investment in these structures for a potential future pandemic. I think we've seen a great integration between first responders, border control staff, and defence forces in many countries. These messages need to be captured, how it worked, what information was needed, and how that led to an impact on health. I think we also need to better measure the social and economic impact of this pandemic. I think we know how many laboratory confirmed cases of COVID there are, but do we know the impact on the education system? Do we know the impact in terms of the mental health consequences of sequential lockdowns? We didn't have a choice perhaps, but at the same time we need to be looking at the broader societal impact. And I think finally we need to be looking at better pandemic risk detection in countries at the risk of disease emergence. So there is the potential, we could potentially put the Wuhan wild virus back in its box if there had been prompt containment measures, if we'd applied the principles of CBRN to that particular part of the world. We could potentially have stopped this pandemic. Once it became mutated and became a more transmissible strain, it was too difficult to control. And then the very final point is, I think, what I would like to see is a more coordinated EU-wide response to future pandemics. And our core to that would be the procurement and the sharing of resources. But clearly it's about managing risk to EU citizens and ensuring that we are better prepared for the next pandemic, which is inevitable. We just don't know when it's going to happen. Thanks, Philippe.
Thank you, Moira. Well, we are arriving to the end of this session. So please, I will ask the next three speakers to be very, very, very quick in their dream expression, please. Daniel, could you have very few words?
Yes, I will take the word of Alessandra and say that the scientific people are there. So we commit with this dream of supporting the policy makers, and especially in climate change, in which I think we need a big transformation of our society. Scientists, we will support.
Thank you. Clive, could I give you the floor, please? for a short statement.
I think for improved innovation, we need continued engagement between procurement practitioners, innovators. That needs to be supported by areas such as standardization to improve interoperability. All that I think needs to be capability driven and supported by policy. And in an ideal world, I would still like to see a single multi-language repository of innovations and needs and gaps that all projects communities contribute to, so we have less to do.
Thank you, Clive. Well, last word by Patricia, please. A short statement, please.
Let's do it.
Patricia,
Do you hear me? Yes. Let's do it because we can do it. And citizens require it. Think of our grandchildren. Think of what lays ahead. We have to make everything we can to convince the policymakers, all of them, and bring them with all the outcomes we have and solutions that really can be implemented. We can do it. We have to.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I would like to thank you all and to thank the team behind that enabled this side event to take place in such an efficient way. Thank you very much. I look forward to work with you all to fulfill these objectives and to meet you in person next time, because it's a little bit difficult to speak. And with good thing to bring this human dimension back into our very complex work. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very good day and see you again as soon as possible. Thank you.